morning down there.
Thank you very much.
I'm here in Beverly Hills. We're at the Four Seasons Hotel doing press junket and having a great day. We just love this film so much. And, you know, when you're really passionate about what you're doing, it's great to have a chance to talk it up.
Well, Roma Downey, congratulations on Ben-Hur.
Thank you.
If for no other reason than that it is a relief after having sat through Noah and Exodus, two of the most tedious and self-important biblical films of recent times.
Yeah.
Look, your movie is 2 hours long. It's very entertaining. And most important of all, it has a chariot race that totally kicks ass.
Oh, it does. It is a kick-ass scene. I tell you, it takes no prisoners. You feel not only like you're watching the scene, but that you're actually in the scene. It's all you can do not to wipe the dust off your face afterward.
Well, what you've done with the chariot race is what too few filmmakers do when they are revisiting a famous scene, in that you've actually taken advantage of the advances in technology to really give it the oomph of a 21st century film.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think in the 55 years since the beloved classic came out, so much has changed in the world that we live in, so much has changed in cinema and what we are capable of achieving, and it does manifest itself mostly in that scene and in the other big set piece, which is the naval battle scene. But I have to tell you that you'd be surprised how much of the chariot race is actually boots on the ground. Our two stars trained 4 months in preparation, and when you see them coming down the track, holding the reins, standing in those chariots, it is actually them in those chariots. And, you know, what was achieved there, I think, between the actors and the stunt team and the cameramen is truly is magnificent. It's a very, very exciting scene that I anticipate people will be talking about for decades.
Now, I mentioned earlier Noah and Exodus, and believe me, I am the last person in the world stupid enough to try to put words in your mouth. But did you see those films? And were you, with Ben-Hur, deliberately reacting against the length and the somber tone of those movies?
Well, I tell you what we did know. Listen, remember the 1959 film of Ben-Hur was, you know, very long, almost 4 hours long, so long it had an intermission. And we know that audiences today expect their films to come in, around 2 hours, under 2 hours. And that was something that was important. We had a big story here. There were many ways that we could have told it. With the help of John Ridley, Oscar-winning writer, of course, won the Oscar for 12 Years a Slave. We were able to hone in on the best version of the story to tell it efficiently and concisely and effectively. And I know from having spent a lot of time working on first world dramas, first century dramas, that, if you're going to put a biblical character on the screen, particularly if you're going to represent Jesus on the screen, that you approach that cautiously and with respect, and that you take advice on that, and it would seem to me perhaps on those other two films that they forgot the taking advice part. But, we did. We took advice on the Bible, and we did again here with Jesus. The 59 movie, you hardly saw Jesus at all, and here we wanted to make sure that you felt the humanity of Jesus, that you actually could connect with him, that you would see his face and hear his words and see how Judah Ben-Hur, because this is not Jesus' story, it's not a biblical story, it's a fictional story, and our character, our fictional character, we take the journey with him. We take the journey from his princely life, where he, he's a bit of a spoilt boy at the start of the film. We see him, in this fall from grace and dumped into the belly of a slave ship, where not just his back hardens, but his heart hardens, And the only thing really that keeps him alive is his hatred and his desire to come back and be revenged.
Certainly you really came into this thing knowing, Roma Downey, that you were going to face a wall of cynicism, which always comes when filmmakers dare to revisit or remake or reboot a classic film. And all the things that you've just said obviously must have given you the confidence that you were basically going to get away with this.
Well, I certainly have learned enough in my life to know that courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is having fear, but doing it anyway. And I feel in the world that we live in, with the danger and the fear and the chaos and the division on this planet, that to be able to bring a story to the screen that on the one hand is big scale, epic, extraordinary visuals, exciting action movie, which is what it is, and it totally delivers on that, and yet it has subtly woven through it a more meaningful message about forgiveness and reconciliation.
Yes.
And it has an intimacy to it, so it's epic and intimate. And I just feel that, this movie is needed in our world at this time.
I did want to ask you specifically about your motive for making this film and the message that you intended to deliver.
Well, my husband Mark Burnett and myself were approached by MGM, by Gary Barber, who said, I'd love your involvement. Would you come on board and be producers on this epic film that we're doing? And we said, which one? And he said, Ben-Hur. And, you probably heard our chins drop in Australia.
I thought that was you.
Did you hear that? I'm sure you did. And I think the only thing that might have surprised us more if he'd asked us to redo Gone with the Wind. And he said, before you answer, take the script home, read the script, and let me know on Monday. It's a Friday afternoon. And so, of course, the script, the Ridley script, was a complete page-turner with the emphasis more on forgiveness than vengeance, which I liked. We are committed at our company, Lightworkers Media, to tell stories that illuminate the darkness, and I felt ultimately that's what this script did. But we said to our kids, we have 3 kids at home, young adults, teenagers in early 20s, we said, wow, we're going to join this amazing team and make Ben-Hur. And our youngest kid said, what? Ben-Who? And so I think it reminded us also that while it is a beloved classic and many people over a certain age have a memory of who they saw it with or what it meant to them at that time in their life, there are just as many more that have not seen that movie nor even heard of it. And so I think there's a real opportunity for an audience that might appreciate a Gladiator meets the Fast and the Furious, with a sprinkling of meaning thrown in. I think there's going to be a huge audience for this, and it's my hope ultimately that anybody that's ever hated, anybody that's ever been angry with anybody else, you see illustrated in this film that the only person at the end of the day that's really damaged by all that anger is the person who feels it. And we see through the character of Judah Ben-Hur that he gets to a place in his life where it's just too heavy to carry that anger around anymore. And he drops to his knees in front of the cross, and he puts his anger down. And he says, no more. I'm done with that. The only way forward is to forgive.
Are you intending this film specifically to carry a message to the Muslim community? Because you mentioned the troubled world we live in at the moment. And of all the religions in the world, the one religion that everyone is worried about is the Islamic faith.
Well, I certainly feel the world that we live in and the times that we live, that I hope that people of all faiths will see this film and that their hearts will be moved by it. We have to figure it out in our world. We can't go on this way. Every day you pick up a newspaper and it's something else in somewhere else. Random acts of evil and random acts of hatred that just continue to drive us all further and further apart from each other. And the center won't hold at this rate. We've got to take action. We've got to find the places that we can create bridges of understanding between us. We have to, and I hope that this movie will just shine a little bit of light for all peoples in all parts of the world, that it'll go into those dark places, that it will go into dark hearts, and that it will shine a light.
Roma, you are one of the most powerful women in Hollywood at the moment. I want to know how you harness and deploy that power.
Well, I don't know. All glory to God, I say. Not all power from me. But can I tell you, I just got my star on Hollywood Boulevard. Now, you might have thought I just won an Oscar with the way I reacted. I was so excited. And I tuned in on YouTube to see how other people had received their stars. And there were a lot of very cool people being really too cool for school. I, of course, was like a teenage girl. I couldn't believe it. When 30 years ago, when I first came out to LA, I remember going down Hollywood Boulevard like Dorothy on the yellow brick road, looking at all those stars, only imagining what it might be like to one day have my own. So it was very validating after many years as an actress, after now 5, 6 years producing, doing something that I love to do, telling stories that I'm passionate about telling, hoping in some way to use the platform, to use the power of media, communication, the potential to reach millions and millions of people around the globe through television and through film, and to bring meaningful content that hopefully will help add value to the world that we live in, and add something positive for ourselves and for our children.
I'm very keen to get a comment from you with regards to Touched by an Angel and the Bible miniseries, just about the power of television and of cinema to entertain, to change minds, and to guide thought.
Well, I worked for almost 10 years on a television show, Touched by an Angel, which took a very simple premise, that there is a God and that he loves you and that he wants to be part of your life. And as the angel messenger, I got to deliver that every week on national TV to over 20 million people. And I became so aware on that series week after week of the powerful potential of TV, because it goes into people's homes, doesn't it? They invite you into their houses every week, into their sitting rooms, into their sacred places where they gather with their families, and you get to deliver a message. Now, depending on what kind of show you've created or that you're working on, dictates the kind of message that you're delivering. And I am very much someone who feels that to those whom much is given, much is expected. I'm a person of faith, so, it's important to me to tell positive stories. I want there to be a value add in the work that I do, and I feel blessed that I've been able to do that through Touched by an Angel, in more recent years with the Bible series, which many people here in my own Hollywood community thought that Mark and I were crazy to undertake. I thought that nobody would watch it, and of course 100 million people tuned in to see the Bible series. So I believe very strongly that there are people hungry for hope, and they're hungry for these stories that allow them to feel a sense of belonging.
Can you please give me a reflection on the experience that you had with the Bible? Because it was quite entertaining to see the critics dismiss the show out of hand and then to watch it go on to be this massive hit. Roma Downey, did that experience teach you something that you didn't already know about the disconnect between media and the critics and the audience?
Well, I think what it did do was that it reminded my community here in Hollywood that there is a huge audience, international audience, hungry for these kinds of stories. The sorts of numbers that it delivered in the ratings, I think, rippled across this town, and suddenly all the agents were calling up and saying, "We got to do a Bible story." But I also know unless you do a Bible story and you bring an authenticity to it, it's not as easy as it looks. But it was very gratifying for us, of course. We just breathed heart and soul into the making of that series. It was a beloved series and great for Mark and I. You know, we get to do what we love. We get to have passion about our work, and we get to do it together as a husband and wife. And, you know, that's the greatest gift of all.
Gender imbalance and diversity is a very big topic in the entertainment business at the moment. Roma, do you have a view about that issue and the best way to address it?
Well, I just feel as a woman in a position of power to hire that I really try to give women a fair shake. And, you know, my own personal position on that is that I came up as an actress and have spent many years, was very fortunate to have become a star here. And so when I made the move into production, it was a sidewards move. You know, it wasn't an upward climb. So I maybe had it a little bit easier than some. But certainly, I think when we do anything and create new ground as pioneer people, we do it for everybody. And so I, you know, like to tell young women that I'm working with that I came here. That's why my star was so meaningful to me last week, because I came here as an out-of-work wannabe actress with a dream in my heart. And I think if you're willing to work hard and you keep your integrity and, you know, and you're nice to people and you, you know, and you have a dream and you've got talent, there is opportunity, and to just keep going for it, you know. And with each one of us, with women, or, you know, I also had last week heard from a lot of friends in Ireland, you know, that, oh, you're doing it for Ireland. So if you're doing it for Ireland, doing it for women, or doing it for people of faith, or whatever group it is that you're pushing forward for, when one of us steps forward, we all step forward. And so we just have to keep, you know, pushing the boundaries, I think.
When you watch a crucifixion scene in your own movie, are you seeing it as a producer, or do those images have a special cut-through for you?
Well, you know, this crucifixion scene was the third crucifixion scene that I have overseen as a producer in my career. And I don't know that, you know, that anybody else would have that on their credits. But it's always a somber day on a set. It's a hard scene to reenact. It was a very cruel form of murder, and to see a reenactment of the Savior hanging naked on a cross, being killed in such a way, sacrificing himself for us, is always incredibly moving. Rodrigo Santoro does a magnificent job in Ben-Hur. He brings beauty and grace and strength and stillness and humanity. You know, our director Timur Bekmambetov is known for creating gritty and realistic visuals, and I think that the combination of all of these things, the story of faith, the story of endurance, the story of forgiveness, wrapped in these amazing effects and, you know, the beauty of this production design, it makes this a really, really great movie. And I just, you know, hope and pray that audiences come out and support it, because I think, you know, as well as being, you know, a satisfying action film, it has this deeper message that I think is an important one for the time that we're living in.
And you did ultimately make a movie and not a sermon, and I think that might be in your favour.
I mean, nobody's coming to the movies for a sermon. They can go to church for that. They're coming to the movies to be entertained. And first and foremost, Ben-Hur is an incredibly exciting, entertaining, big blockbuster.